Denial is the most predictable of all human responses.
Conspiracy theorists of the world unite.
He is refining his methods. He is evolving.
There have been other times when a danger upon the world required the services of singular individuals.
There are, of course, those who do not want us to speak.
Are you like a crazy person?
I'm quite sure they will say so.
Everybody's good, man. Everybody looks like it's going well so far. So listen, everybody, thanks for joining in at a very special episode of Dark Fringe Radio. We're doing this live on Instagram, and so this is a very special episode, and we hope everybody is interactive with us. Please, if there's anything that you guys want to talk about, please just leave a message there, and we'll be more than happy to address. So, Jay, I just wanted to kind of get things started. There's been a lot of things in the news as of late, especially within the last 24 hours. I mean, I hate to go to mainstream news, but there's a lot of shit happening. I kind of wanted to bring up, well, there's a story that actually is kind of close to home here. In when I mean close to home, I mean in Jupiter, Florida. And I'm not sure if you know what I'm going with this story.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about the new sprout coming on Frederick Small and Military, right? The new
No, that's not it. No, that's not it. No. There is a story coming out of Jupiter, Florida, and it has to do with your near and dear Patriot fans, the New England Patriots.
Oh, and, I love the New England Patriots and their fans. Tom Brady. Yeah. Oh, good, George. Yeah, I know. I don't know why I did a Wisconsin accent.
Well, the issue is that the owner of the New England Patriots was busted last week in Jupiter, Florida, for soliciting. Yeah. Which kind of gets me in a kind of like a very precarious situation, because if you're worth $6.6 billion, right? Yeah. And you own the New England Patriots. Yeah. You have a lot of money. Yeah. Why are you getting a hand job for $70 at a spa in Jupiter, Florida, and risking all of that?
Two reasons. One, current economy. Got to make sure you got something for the future. And two, because you're in Jupiter, Florida. What else are you going to do?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I actually like Jupiter, Florida. I like to go camping out there.
Not so much. I actually work in Jupiter. So
you work in Jupiter?
The better question, really, though, Will, you're missing the whole point entirely. The better question is, when you're worth $8 bajillion,
right?
Can't you afford to just bring, like, you could buy, like, a whole mail order thing? Like, you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. You're worth 6.6 billion. Well, like I was saying earlier, I was talking to someone regarding it. That's like, that's like being a rich person, like say for instance like Chris Rock or Snoop Dogg, and going to the hood to go buy weed. Just doesn't make sense. I mean, you know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. No, you know what I mean? You would risk all that to, it doesn't equate. But anyways, that was just one of the headlines I kind of wanted to bring up today that came across a lot of people's radar, of course, Well,
it's not quite as current. It's not quite as newsy. It's not as mainstreamy, but it does go along with the whole celebrity motif you've already started with. You and I talked a little bit about Jose Canseco the other day.
Yeah, of course the super embroiled, failed in a lot of issues with the steroids abuse. Unfortunately, Mr. Jose Canseco. Yeah.
Well, you have to give him credit. Okay, yeah. He came out and said he did it, and then he totally narked on all of his buddies that did it. Snitch. So he wasn't by himself. And that's okay. But what's interesting about Jose Canseco, snitches get stitches. There's a T in it. So, he has a history of doing some pretty weird shit. He would take celebrity boxing matches and actually have his brother show up for them?
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah, because his brother coincidentally looks almost exactly like him.
Except for different tattoos.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too.
Just saying. So, trying to pass off his brother as him. And then recently I found out that you can actually go on either a UFO or a Bigfoot watching excursion out in Nevada with Jose Canseco. And it only costs like $10,000.
So $10,000, you can go out into the wilderness with Jose Canseco in the desert and supposedly look for UFOs.
You pay $5,000 up front because everything starts with $5,000 up front.
Right.
It's totally legit. You get into an RV with Jose Canseco, probably. You go out into the desert and you look for Bigfoot because that's where he's known to chill. Or you go to try to find UFOs, and when you get there, you pay him the remaining $5,000.
I get it. So it's one of those kind of deals. Okay. Well, it sounds like one of those shakedowns that some of these broken down celebrities do once they have hit a certain plateau and
he's
can't
a big
really
dude. I wouldn't want to mess with him.
Well, listen, he's a big guy and all, but I think it's his time has come and gone. But again, I think it's just one of those kind of things that these celebrities kind of hold on to something to try to make a buck on, and it's sad. It's kind of sad to see that. Jay, I wanted to ask you. There's just been this huge story that's been in the news, probably within the last 2 weeks. It's this Jesse Smollett guy who faked his own attack in Chicago. He was this guy who was an actor on this show called Empire on TV, and supposedly he came out and said that he was attacked. And
he shouldn't beat himself up.
Well, he paid 2 guys to do that for him. And
I know that's part of the meme too.
Yeah. So, it's a big story, and it's sad to see somebody actually do something like that to kind of garner attention, to try to make a point, and it sucks. You know what I mean? Because it kind of puts a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and it sets a bad precedent for anybody else that's actually has an issue, a real issue. You know what I mean? That actually really has something going on.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. A lot of those celebrities, to become celebrities, have to kind of be comfortable with the spotlight being shined on them. And one of the ways a lot of them like to stay current is they kind of get embroiled in some of these, really current, trending, actions. And unfortunately, he went the wrong route, and he's going to end up ruining his career, just as so many other celebrities have done by just being dumb.
Yeah, it's actually very silly, and it's one of those classic cases. You just kind of see it happen, and it's you can't help but just to watch, and it's going to happen. But so we have this situation here. It's all over the news. It's taking all over the news by mainstream everywhere. I mean, they're talking about it on every 3-letter corporation television station. But I wanted to talk about some other stories that are out there that are actually happening right now that people are not talking about because of this story that's out there and just kind of like overwhelming the news, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I have a kind of a list here, and one of the ones I have on the list was Houston police admitted that a raid that killed an innocent couple was likely based on lies. So check this out. Despite their best intentions of sweeping the deaths of Dennis and Regina Tuttle under the rug, the Houston Police Department is currently under the microscope of the nation. As the TFTP reported over the weekend, the officer involved in obtaining the evidence for the raid, Gerald Goins, is accused of lying about the evidence which led to the raid, there was never any. So also in yet another move, the FBI is stepping in as well as the Houston area prosecutors who will examine 1,400 other cases that are linked to the cop who fabricated evidence to spark the raid on this innocent couple, in which they were murdered and in their own home by police. So you have a situation here where there's this dirty cop who is, basically doing these things on, little to no evidence, basically. In Houston, Texas,
I mean, listen, the state in which we live is a crazy and a scary one, and we have to be on guard all the time. It's one of those things. It's one of the big things that the Founding Fathers kind of were based on was government that governs least is government that governs best. And at this point, it almost seems like the government is constantly in our pockets, in our business. The NSA is constantly watching us, and you can't sacrifice liberty for safety. And sometimes it feels like with our current society, with how fast things are moving, that's exactly what we do. And it becomes scary, and that's one of the reasons why the Second Amendment is so muddled up. Actually, I read a story, and it was the other thing I was going to bring up. Did you hear about this 11-year-old in Alabama that shot a would-be house robber?
No.
Please tell me. Oh, you didn't see it.
No, I didn't. I just laughed because it was Alabama, but just go ahead. Please proceed.
So, 11-year-old Christopher Gaither, I think his name was home by himself on Wednesday, hears something, realizes that someone's breaking into his house, which apparently this person has broken into their house multiple times.
Oh, really?
The kid goes and gets his 9mm, or 9mm. I don't know if it was his or his parents. Gets his 9mm, tells the guy that he's going to shoot him. The guy says he'll kill him and F him, and his words exactly.
Right.
And proceeds to put a whole bunch of stuff into a laundry basket and carry it out. So as soon as this guy starts coming out, this kid starts shooting 9mm hollow points.
Not today, motherfucker. Not today.
Not today, Satan.
Not today. No. He was not playing. Oh.
It goes, his 12th and final shot, I mean, it was his 12th shot, goes through the laundry basket, into dude's leg, where dude falls on ground.
Yeah, okay.
So, and again, according to the kid, I quote, the guy starts crying like a baby.
Yeah.
Shot through the leg with a hollow point. Crying like, I'd be crying like a baby too.
I would be crying like a baby.
I would cry like a baby. But the best part of this whole thing, is you watch the video and you see the interviewer talking to this kid, and it's so Alabama and it's so funny. But the kid's like, he started crying like a baby.
Oh, Lord.
So then the guy's like, well, how did you become such a crack shot?
Oh, so he threw the
kids for 1 for 12. Crack shot.
Crack shot, yeah.
And he goes, I play a game with my stepdad where we shoot zombies for practice.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's all you can say, right? Exactly.
I mean, listen, it's a great story. If anybody would ever break into my house, I really hope my kids, I have no doubt my daughter would do that, for sure.
Yeah.
I would hope my kids would go ahead and, I hope they hit up with all 12. All 12.
Right.
But it was funny how the kid's like, he's crying like a baby. Kid's hitting the leg with a hollow point.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what's going to happen. I'm sorry. Well, that's an interesting story, Jay. Thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate that. That just
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, that brings a highlight to my day right there.
It made me laugh.
It made me laugh. Another story I wanted to bring up. There's this BBC producer who came forward with some bombshell evidence showing how the alleged sarin gas attack in Syria never actually really happened. Now, this is a big thing that happened last year where, Syria, the guy over there, Assad, supposedly gassed his own people. And, that was what the narrative was put out there in the news. And they were showing footage of that, people in these tents, suffering. It looks like these, kids were, gassed and stuff like that. But supposedly, this guy on the BBC had some evidence. So mainstream media quickly picked up the horrific videos from Duma Hospital. That's where all the victims I was just telling you about, Jay, from the poison attack. The hospital scene was enough to assemble the UN emergency session and prompt a U.S.-led coalition of the willing, that was what it was called at that time, to rain down dozens of missiles on Damascus and other locations. So this reputable producer, his name is Ram Dalidi. He was a long-term reporter in the Middle East. He actually took the liberty of actually coming out and saying, hey, listen, a lot of this stuff that was out there was staged and faked. And that, that Assad did attack the people, but he never attacked the people with, any kind of sarin gas or anything like that. So they made it and purported it a lot worse than it what it actually was. And so that's, it's a conspiracy theory,
Why
is it? Why? Go ahead.
Why would somebody do that? Why would they attack, but then make it look like they attacked in just a different manner, right? Is it a fear tactic to get people to fall in line? Like, what would be the outcome? What would be the end goal?
Well, I think what they're saying is this is the conspiracy theory. The conspiracy theory is that the narrative that's being put out by the media is actually not right. And, you have these fake staged, hospitals with people in it. And what they're trying to report is something far seriously worse than what it was. It is kind of weird how us as humans, we kind of like put things in different levels as far as, okay, yeah, we can go attack a person and go kill them using a rifle or a missile. But then the minute that you start using like sarin gas, it becomes a different thing. When in reality, it's really all the same thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's just as bad, if not worse. But, that's the whole purpose. So they wanted people to kind of like, they wanted the UN to kind of like, react to it by purporting it a lot worse than what it was. So that's the theory. What do you think?
I mean, it's definitely a good scare tactic. You go back to like World War II with, the Agent Orange and, there's chemical attacks and things of that nature seem so much more scary because while bullets and bombs and guns are scary, you can do things to kind of mitigate them. You can do things to, it's almost like chemical warfare seems so much more scary and, yes, Jen, more threatening. Thank you, Jen.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it can definitely be much more of a scare tactic. But I don't know, man. I guess I can't get really into that mindset, that kind of head frame.
It's some really like heavy stuff because you have to think that,
Damn, you brought heavy stuff tonight. I'm talking about an 11-year-old Alabama shooting a kid with a dude with a fucking hollow point. You're talking about chemical warfare, man.
Yeah. Well, listen, that's what it's about. We got to go from one extreme to another. So, yeah, I mean, it's deep, man, because you don't, you hear. Well,
if that's what we're doing, then let's talk about Jumanji 2.
Oh shit, Jumanji 2. Oh shit. But it's scary to think that, what sometimes you may hear in the news is not really what's going on. That's the bottom line to this whole narrative.
And it kind of goes back, and maybe it's because I'm a history buff, maybe it's because I was taught you don't know where you're going until you've seen where you've been. But so you'll be going from puppies to war.
Yeah,
we've already done that. Basically, we always have to hold the government accountable. We can't always just assume that what they're telling us is the truth. They've proven multiple times that what they're telling us it's propaganda. It's fun for us it's fun for us to be able to receive it. It's made to be more palatable for us. And I'm not saying that everything is that way, that everything that happens has an ulterior motive, but you have to look at it as if it does. You have to you can't go in with these rose-colored glasses and just assume that everything is hunky-dory. You have to question everything. So that way, in the instance of those things that aren't, true or aren't all the way 100%, we pick up on it so we can be fully informed. This is the age of information. I mean, at this point, we are more informed as a society than ever, which is probably why we now are more in tune with the things that are bullshit that the government does.
Yeah, it's very apparent, and that's the good thing about social media. There's a lot of bad, of course, about it, and there's a lot of horrible things about it, to be quite honest. But there are some good benefits to it, and that's one of the good things. Being able to disseminate information quickly at a very fast pace and get things out there so that way people can actually share it. Think about it now. If you think about 20 years ago, how did you get your news? You got it on a television or a newspaper, but more likely it was through a television. Now you're getting it through your feed through either Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. That's where you're getting your news now.
But here's the other thing with what 20 years ago. 20 years ago, journalists tended to have more journalistic credibility.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
They didn't want to report falsehood. They didn't want to report.
It wasn't opinion based.
It wasn't. It was more fact based. There was a lot of fact checking to it. Now it all seems like opinion, and we also live in a generation where if somebody identifies as a lamp, then we call them a lamp, and that doesn't make any sense. I don't judge whatever people want to be known as. If a man feels like he's truly a woman,
I love lamp.
I love lamp. I love lamp. Best part of that movie was the funeral scene.
Oh yeah.
There's only three times in movies I have laughed harder than that. I remember sitting it there and just dying laughing. Love Steve Carell.
Yeah.
Would just say they don't have to try to top their last story. It's all about the reaction factor.
That's correct.
It's true. It's true.
That's right.
Unfortunately, everybody is a bunch of attention whores. And this is coming from someone that teaches classes all day being the center of attention and does a podcast by night. I identify with lamp. I identify with lamp.
Yeah, definitely. And it's right. You're right, Jen. By pushing the narrative constantly, that's all they need to do. It doesn't have to be topped by the last story. It just, as long as they keep pushing the narrative, and that's the story they want to continue to push, it's they're going to continue to get the same reaction out of people. So, that's very astute.
You go back to a couple months ago, and we talked about this on one of our podcasts. It was right around the time that maybe it was during the Olympics. I remember that Trump was having this whole thing with the whole possibility of nuclear war. And right about that same time, he also called all the NFL players, bastards or something. And we were all focused on the whole people kneeling during the anthem, which I understand why it gets people upset, and I understand why people are passionate about it, and I can appreciate why people are passionate about it, but we should have been more focused on the problem at hand, which was the fact that there was a real threat of nuclear war with North Korea. And it's just like this Robert Kraft thing. We laughed at the Kraft thing. We joke about it, and yeah, okay, so he lost Warren Buffett $4 billion today.
Right.
But that being said, nobody's talking about the actual
the real shit,
sex trafficking that's going on through Jupiter of all places.
Right.
If
it's in
going
our backyard.
Through Jupiter, what else is it going? I mean, come on. What else is it going through?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
And it's a great place, and it's a great city. And if it can happen in Jupiter, trust me, it can happen anywhere, and probably is happening everywhere. And we don't do enough, or aren't focused enough. Everybody's pissed off at him for trying to get a handy. Let's try to figure out where these girls are coming from.
Right. Absolutely. That's the part that people don't talk about. You know what I mean? They just focus on the more juicier part of the story, and that's the problem, and that's the unfortunate part of the mainstream media. They don't talk about what we're talking about here. Just to go back, Jen, you're absolutely right. You actually mentioned something about when you worked with a company and you actually witnessed how a story was changed midway to make it sound better. I've totally seen that. I've seen that with my own eyes as well. And I know some other people who've actually been in the industry that I'm sure have seen the same thing as well. It's amazing what they can make a story, sensationalize it, add more meat to it and sizzle, and they'll do it. It doesn't make, there's no reason for them to do it, but they do it because of the ratings. Just
there's a reason right there.
Yeah, there's the reason.
It's
right
honestly, it goes back to honestly my personal belief and what is majorly wrong with society. Everything is all about the money. Everything is about the almighty dollar and how much revenue the 1%ers can get. And don't get me wrong, I would love to hit the lotto tomorrow, hit the Powerball, and have $500 billion in my pocket. That being said, if everything we do, everything that is done is revenue-based. It's all driven by money, which means that there's never enough to satisfy all of us. So those who have it continue to fight to get more of it because it's almost an addiction.
Right.
You know, like people have addictions to their phones or to meth or to porn or
whatever the case
beer.
Or beer.
Whatever.
Yeah. Or to tea.
Yeah. Yeah. What's in that tea?
What?
So, but it all goes back to the same thing. It's money. Money is what drives everything. And those who have it want more of it. And those who don't have it want more of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it makes more sense. If you get more ratings, you sell more advertising. You get more advertising, you get more money. So the more money you get, the more advertising you have. But it's like you hear about the first time people getting high. And I say you hear because it's all suspect to me because I don't know anything. You get high one time and you're told that, marijuana is a gateway drug. And you start with this baseline. I remember this being explained to me in DARE in 7th grade.
It's a gateway drug to the refrigerator. That's what it is. Excuse me, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
So you start off with this baseline, right?
Yeah.
And the first time you get high, you go like this, but then as you come down, it kind of goes like this. So then you're constantly chasing that high, and you can never seem to get back to this normal balance. And yes, there are chemicals in your brain that once you enhance or do something like that, it can be permanently screwed depending on what you're doing. At the same token, that's what the money is. It's people that have.
You're right.
We all it's money, and very rarely do people step back and go, whoa, what's the baseline behind it? What is it really meaning? What are they really talking about? What is going on? And that's a big thing for those who don't know that Dark Fringe Radio is really all about. It. We pick a topic and we try to get down to the nuts and bolts of it and see if we can give our own opinions on what we believe might be really happening. Now, whether we're right or wrong or indifferent, it's entertaining. Right.
It's exactly right. And you're right, Ashley. Hollywood is a lot more story than it is real news. And actually, that's a great segue. I wanted to kind of make a little break here for a second here, Jay. Next week, we have an episode where we're talking about haunted Hollywood. And we're going to be getting into a lot of that, that topic and talk about a lot of different stories and things that have come out of Hollywood. A lot of creepy shit, of course, from that neck of the woods. So we'll be getting into that next week, and we hope you guys tune into that and enjoy that. And then next week, we're either planning either Friday or Saturday. We haven't decided yet, but we will let you know by Monday which day we decide. But it's going to be our 50th episode. We're also going to do that live here on Instagram, and so we hope you guys enjoy that. So it's 50 episodes, Jay, next week that we'll be at. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy how far we've come, and I know going back and listening to all those old episodes. First off, we've come a long way in quality.
Oh yeah,
in content.
Yeah.
I cringed. It was a year ago. I was cringing.
I cringed too.
Oh my god, it was so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be the Haunted Hollywood episode is a pretty good one, and our 50th episode that's a big one. I can't believe we're at 50 already.
Yeah.
With 50 after 50 episodes, we've come a long way. We've grown a long way, and thanks to the support from everybody, because we're going to continue to grow and get bigger and better, and we want everybody to kind of come along on this ride with us.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better, Jay. So next week, it'll be on Monday. We'll be releasing Haunted Hollywood. So we hope you guys enjoy that. And then either Friday or Saturday, we'll announce either one of those 2 days we'll be doing the 50th episode. So we hope you guys join us for that as well. Another topic I wanted to bring up, Jay. Oh, thank you, Jen. Appreciate it. It's kind of more of a mainstream topic, so I kind of wanted to jump off of, make things half serious, half, joking. But did you see your boy R. Kelly? He got charged today.
No, I did not see that. Why? Whoa! What? I sing Ignition at karaoke one time. Suddenly he's my boy?
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. You're already a conspirator right there. So, yeah, he surrenders and charged with sexual abusing 4 or at least 3 of them of minors. So, again, looks like he's in a lot of shit. And it looks like things have finally caught up to Mr. Robert Kelly.
If the remix to Ignition.
Yeah, well,
He's fresh out the kitchen.
Well, he's going to be remixing his ass in the pen. That's what he's going to be doing.
Daddy's rolling his body with Bubba up. No, sorry.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I mean, finally, I mean, it's amazing that it took a documentary to remind everybody how much of a scumbag that he was. Because I remember this documentary that just came out, and everybody was like a buzz about it, and they were like, "Oh my God, can you believe how much of a dirtbag R. Kelly was?" I'm like, everybody already knew how much of a dirtbag R. Kelly was. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Ever since
what's probably best. You know what's best about the whole situation?
What's that?
You know what's funny about it is Macklemore.
Yeah.
In Thrift Shop, it was like his first big hit.
Right.
He says right there, smells like R. Kelly's sheets. Piss.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Nobody remembers. Nobody picked up on it. It's one of the best lines in any rap or any song, really, ever.
Yeah.
And we totally blow right by it.
Well, yeah. Well, it looks like R. Kelly, it just looks like his time caught up with him this time, and looks like he's not going to get out of this one. So it looks like he surrendered Friday night at the Chicago Police Department, and looks like he's going to be spending some time there until they figure out what they're going to do with him. But, again, I'm not surprised, and I don't understand why everybody's acting so surprised all of a sudden. But anyways.
Actually loves R. Kelly? Is that what I'm reading?
I think that's what she says.
I don't judge. I mean, come on, man.
No, hey, listen, you can separate the music and the personal, right?
Well, that's how it works. I mean, when Terrell Owens was a 49er, I loved what he did on the field. I just didn't like all that stuff. Oh, Macklemore, not R. Kelly. Okay.
Ah, there we go.
My bad. My bad.
Yeah.
We all love Macklemore. How can you not? The guy wears footy pajamas.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Well, another story that actually is more serious, Jay, and I wanted to bring up, and it's
why are you doing this to me, dude? Hey,
man, we got to be serious too, man. We can, talk about R. Kelly and his his issues and him abusing women, and now we can go to some other shit. So the feds have proposed a plan on passing a law that would garnish wages from those who own student loans. So
I'm good. My loans are paid.
I don't have any, so I'm good too.
I don't have any. I'm good.
But for those out there that do have student loans, it looks like the feds have actually proposed some type of legislation where it would allow them to actually garnish wages from people directly from their pay. And so thanks to a new proposal currently making its way through the Senate, student loan borrowers could soon have their loan payments directly taken from their paychecks. Senator Lamar Alexander, a Republican from Tennessee, chairman of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, explained that this bill could affect those 40 million people currently holding student debt. I think this proposal is likely to become law after some tweaks, said Mark Kantrowitz, a student loan expert. Naturally, consumer watchdogs are crying foul, calling this a mandatory wage garnishment, quote unquote. And for borrowers with tight budgets, they need to be navigated on a monthly basis. Forced automatic payroll withholdings may mean diverting money away from rents, heat, food, and other orders to pay their student loans, as a report by the National Consumer Law Center states. So they're basically saying that they're going to be able to try to pass a law to where they can just take the debt that you owe from the student debt right from your paycheck, which is that's crazy to think. I mean,
I honestly have mixed emotions about it. I have mixed emotions about it. Because on the one hand, the government should not be telling you where you got to spend your money.
Absolutely.
Like that's too big, brother. It's too big business. It really is. It's them putting their hands in our pockets.
Absolutely.
On the flip side to that, you borrow money as a loan or a grant, people should be paying them back. Now, the bigger question is though, how can the government budget our money for us? It's kind of like the whole Obamacare thing, when if you don't have health insurance, you then have you have to pay a tax penalty.
Correct.
But the insurance itself is almost impossible to be able to afford on what you make. Prime example.
Yes.
I have a friend whose kids are on the Florida Kid Care, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his salary is majorly in bonuses.
Okay.
His rate was like $20 some odd a month for the Florida Kid Care. He had a really good year where he almost doubled his salary in bonuses. But because all they saw was his tax returns, his insurance bill went from $20 to $230 without any warning or nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
and
it's crazy. If
this guy doesn't have as good a year, he's going to be in debt trying to pay simply for insurance for his kid.
Right.
Again, it goes back to the same central thesis. It's money, 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 and at no point is anybody actually looking at the human side. Yes, okay, so someone goes to college, they're trying to do good for themselves, they want to put themselves on that next higher plane, and they get a student loan so they can pay for the colleges, which are already crazy expensive. Mm-hmm. So they pay all this money to get this college education, then they get out there in the workforce, and what do they find? Mm-hmm. They don't find no jobs.
Right.
So you have people with a 4-year degree who are working at McDonald's, and I'm not trying to really actually slight people who work at McDonald's or people who have 4-year degrees. I'm using it as an example. But they're not making enough money to survive, much less pay for a student loan with a degree that they're not using. Yeah, that's
the sad part, and that's maybe part of maybe a conspiracy theory that maybe we need to kind of look into, because it seems like they know they kind of bring you into this false sense of like, go to college, go find something and do it and get 4-year degree and get all the student loans that you can. And, you're going to be able to pay them off, no problem, And then, like you said, Jay, you get stuck in this fucking circle where, like, you have your 4-year degree. And, yes, actually, you're right. It's been going on for years. And
they do bend you over.
And they do bend you over. And you have this 4-year degree, and you're not even in the same industry what you studied in. And you're not making nowhere near the same kind of money that you thought you'd be making. And for what? Now you're $100,000 in debt, or you're an attorney and you're like $200,000 in student debt, which I know some people like that in that situation.
Crazy.
Which is crazy. I mean, you're paying a student debt that's like a mortgage on a monthly basis. So, I mean, is that the American dream? Is it? I mean, is that the narrative that people put out there? Is that the conspiracy theory? Is that the false narrative that we put out there as far as what we think is what you're supposed to do? Go to college and go do that.
Well, I think part of that false narrative, though, goes back to this almost kind of utopian society we believe that America was back in the 50s and early 60s.
Right.
Where, dad worked, mom stayed home, and a lot of families had their own family businesses, and they provided for themselves, and they were independent, but they did it by getting a small loan from a bank with a small interest rate. They paid their bills on time, and yeah, that's great and that's wonderful, and theoretically and in a dream it would be wonderful. But with today's economy and today's society, that's not what it's about anymore. It's not about the government helping society to reach and maximize our goals. It's about the government is almost it's like we're a garden of money.
They're like a pimp, and they're like, "Hey, go out there and make me my money, and come back, bring me my money."
Yeah, I mean, or yes, you are right, but the way I kind of tend to think of it is more we're a money farm. Right? We're like a bunch of crops that have been planted that once a month we sprout our taxes, Social Security, our insurance, our bills, all those things, and we have no choice but to pay them. We have no choice. So what are your options? If you're a small business person like you or like I, we pay our bills on time, we do everything we can, but if you get a little bit behind, you just can never seem to catch up. And then you end up you owe people more money, right? You get a credit card. You get a credit card with a $600 limit, right? And $600 is not a lot of money in the grand scheme. All right. So you spend your limit of $600.
Mm-hmm.
You miss one payment.
Right.
You miss one payment, or you're late. You're a couple
Right.
days late with one payment, and next thing you know, your $600 limit, you are $700 in debt because of interest and late fees, and they pile it up. And yes, they pile it up because there are people who do not pay their bills, who go ahead into credit card debt and have no interest in paying it back, so they have to protect themselves. But on the flip side, you have good people who just have shit luck, so they can't help them. And it's becoming this dirty, ugly cycle that I don't know how.
Cycle. Yeah.
I don't know how we get out of it. And it sucks. It really sucks. I feel for anybody who goes through it. I mean, I just went. If I'm honest, I just went through it not too long ago. The apartment complex in which I live in, I went to pay something online, and there was an issue with the bank. Well, nobody tells me. So then 7 days later, half of my rent isn't paid.
Oh, really?
And I get a note on my door saying that they're about to start the eviction process, and I'm like, I have the money. What's the problem? Like,
right,
I don't know what the problem is. Like, it escalated so quickly. Now, thankfully, I was able to go and get things straightened out. But do you know how many people couldn't go get it straightened out, or were too too angry, like too ready for conflict to go find the better solution? And all too often, that's what ends up happening, is because we end up feeling used and taken advantage of. We start a fight, but at the end of the day, business A says business A is owed X amount of money for whatever amounts of reasons, and sometimes you can't get out of it. And it really does. It all comes back to the same thing, which is it's all about revenue. It's
all about revenue.
It's all about revenue.
You're absolutely right, because that's where, when you were able there was a certain time in America, I think, where going to college and going to get your degree was actually a beneficial thing, like in the 50s, 60s, and probably part of the 70s. But I think in the 70s, that's where it kind of changed, because we deregulated education at that moment, and we allowed companies to come in and monopolize being the bookmakers and putting in the information that was going to be in these books, being the ones that were going to be doing the testing for all standardized testing. So you had all these companies just coming in, trying to bid their way in to, try to be the teachers of America, when it really wasn't all about that. It was all about revenue, like what you're talking about. And that's why we're in the situation we are in now, where our children are being taught for standardized testing, pretty much. They're being taught. There's a whole other part to this, though. At some point, we got so embroiled with the thoughts of all of our children becoming doctors and lawyers and CEOs and all these, again, big money, big business type people, that we totally forgot that we still need tradesmen. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with being a carpenter or a handyman or a plumber or an electrician. And, my father was a general contractor. My uncle was a plumber. My grandfather was an electrician. I come from a lot of blue-collar people, and they did just fine for themselves. In fact, one of my dad's favorite stories was about, do you remember Mr. Merkel from Congress? Of course, yeah.
Okay. So Mr. Merkel told me once, because I was a smart kid, but I didn't always get everything done within the time limit because whatever. And one day Mr. Merkel told me that if I couldn't get things done on time, I would never be able to go to college. If I couldn't go to college, I couldn't get a job. And if I didn't get a job, I wasn't going to live a good, fulfilling life. So I went home. I'm 7th grade, so I'm 12 years old. Really upset, very sad. And my father found this out. Now, my father was kicked out of multiple high schools, barely finished high school, had a lot of problems in schools, went to like a reform school at one point, but eventually was able to, through hard work and being good at a trade, being a general contractor, he was able to make a really decent life for himself.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's not always the story, but this is what happened with my particular father. So, my dad tells me the next day, instead of riding the bus to school, that he was going to take me. So my father takes me to school and talks to Mr. Merkel, and long story short, after Mr. Merkel confirmed that he did say that if I didn't go to college, I wouldn't be able to have a good life, my dad said, Mr. Merkel, did you go to college? And He said, well, yes, sir, I did. And my dad goes, well, I didn't go to college. I barely graduated high school, and I've got one of my paychecks in my front pocket. Do you want to compare paychecks? See which one of us makes more money? To which Mr. Oracle said, no, I got it. And then I eventually was allowed to take some little work home to help me get things done.
Yeah.
Now, the big moral of that story is you don't have to go to college to be successful. Yes, we would all like our children to be as successful as possible, but I think sometimes we get so embroiled in that American dream that we forget that not every child is meant for college. I wasn't meant for college. My son is not meant for college. I'm okay with my son not going to college. I don't care if he's not a doctor or a lawyer. I don't care if he's a janitor. If he's a janitor, he's the best janitor he can be and is happy, then that's all that matters.
That's right.
That is where I think we get lost.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And yes, Gina, you are awesome. That's right. Even though you barely finished high school.
Let's not talk, Gina, about you barely finishing high school with the box of notes that were pre-signed.
Oh, that's that.
Oh, shit! I shouldn't have told that.
Yeah, dirty family secrets coming out on Instagram.
Whoa! Why are you saying we're family? We don't have the same last. Yeah, she's my sister.
Yes.
And she is super awesome when she's not being a super jerk.
Well, listen.
Love you, Sid. Love you.
Yes, we love you, Gina. So another story I wanted to bring up. It looks like gun confiscation has hit an unprecedented new heights as hundreds of citizens have gun seized under red flag laws. Now, supposedly now under the Trump administration, there's more gun seizing happening now. What's going on, Jay? I thought they're not supposed to take the guns away. I'm not supposed to take my guns.
You're not supposed to
take my gun.
Well, all right. First off,
America.
First off, here's the thing: an unarmed public is an easier public to control.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, and I understand that a lot of people think that, and this we talked a while back about doing a Second Amendment gun show, and I think at some point we need to do a Second Amendment show because it's a very interesting topic. The long and the short of it, and again, this is coming from somebody who's only shot guns twice in my life. If we are unarmed, we are easier to control. Now, I do not believe that a person having an M16 in their home necessarily is going to keep out the SWAT team if the SWAT team wants to get in your house. And I don't think that an M16 is necessarily needed in a home. That being said, the whole thing about the land of the free and the home of the brave is the fact that if I want to own an M16, I should be able to own an M16 as long as I'm not a convicted felon. Have been proven to use M16s for, I don't know, picking people off in clock towers. If I'm a good dude, then I should be able to own whatever I want without anybody questioning what I'm doing. So,
that's right.
But unfortunately, the state in which we live, things are contentious. There is a divide between civilians and police officers who are sworn to protect our freedoms, but sometimes those police officers, in the heat of the moment, or because they're dirty, or whatever the backstory might be,
trained well.
There's a million different reasons. I did an episode on police, which we'll get into with episode 50, because it was one of my favorite episodes.
It was mine
as well. Me getting harassed by the cops.
Live on the podcast.
Live on the podcast. Only me.
Only you,
Only
Jay.
me. Only me.
Most people would have thought it was me, but no.
No, it was the white guy.
It's the white guy.
It was the cracker. So, at the end of the day, yes, if the SWAT team wants to come in, a civilian is really not going to be able to keep them out. But, if at any point we have to defend our freedom, like we have in the past, and maybe we're talking 1700s, maybe we're talking 1800s, maybe we're talking 1980s with Reaganomics, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to protect yourself.
Yeah,
we should, as a society, be able to have guns for our own individual protection. There really shouldn't be any reason why the government should be able to come in and just take our guns for the simple sake of taking our guns. It weakens us as a nation. It makes us less capable. And it gives us less freedom. This whole country was built on the basis of freedom, and now it's no longer about freedom. It's becoming almost kind of an empire state.
It is an empire state. It's a very capitalist empire state, unfortunately. And, you have the media out there that is just, run by opinion, and it fuels a lot of the anger and the divide that this country has, unfortunately. And, it unfortunately only highlights the bad and the ugly of this country, not the good, you know what I mean? And that's what gets front page, is all the bad, you know what I mean? And that's the sad part of what, the current state of what we live in currently now, you know?
And that is what drives newspapers, and it's what drives news, and it's what drives rating, and it's what drives money. And it all comes back to the same thing. I don't believe that, like Ashley says, abuse of their power, and some do, and some do not. But at the end of the day, sometimes at the lower levels, your street cops, your basic police officers, they're doing their job. They're told to do something, they go do it to the best of their ability, and sometimes they get put in bad situations that none of us would be able to come out of without making a mistake or without screwing up, and they need the benefit of the doubt to a point, just as much as any one of us do with anything. Right. And you can't, unfortunately, we can't paint with such a wide brush, such a general brush that every cop is dirty or abuses their power, just like we can't paint with the brush that every white person is racist, or every Latino likes tacos. I don't know. Like, we can't just generalize everything. You have to take it on a specific basis. But the problem is there's so many people on the planet now, and there's so many things happening, and it happens so fast, especially with social media. There's so much information out there that it almost makes it impossible to take things on a case-by-case basis, because we want answers. We want it now, because we are a society built on instantaneous gratification. Same reason why there's one cash register at McDonald's.
That's right. Yeah. That's only one cash, or Walmart. Let me see what else. So there's more awareness of mental illness, like gun control, mental illness, a basic test of something.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. It's a very good point you made there. Limited training as far how to appropriately respond to situations. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the problem. Unfortunately, I have a family member who's a law enforcement officer in Connecticut, and we talk on occasion, not very often, but on occasion, and we talk about stuff like this that comes up, and it's just we kind of come to the same agreement that it's a lot of it is just bad training and just not enough training, it has a lot to do with the funds that these municipalities are under at that moment. A lot of these times, these poor cities, the cops, the resources that the cops themselves don't have a lot to begin with, you know what I mean? And then you need, there's a certain level of training that you need to have for these people to respond to these situations properly. And if you don't have the funding for that, and, you are just kind of half-assing the training, you're going to have situations that are going to come up like that where, it's not going to be good for anybody, and so that's I think is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, reasonings for a lot of this, what you see now.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just like anything else. There should be longer training cycles. There should be better training. And honestly, at this point, we should be more understanding of people who have mental incapacities or mental illness, or they're going through things. And we should be able to be more understanding. But unfortunately, in today's society, again, it's how fast and how efficient you can run through things without really true human connection. That's a big problem that we're going through with everything. Is there's not enough human connection, so there's not enough understanding of those who have mental illness, and that's a shame, because there's so much of it out there, and that comes with having a bigger population. The more people you have on the planet, the more we're going to have what used to be, 30, 40 years ago, isolated or minimalistic situations, and they're going to multiply and exacerbate, and that's exactly what's happening. Is you have more people today with mental illness than you had 20 years ago because there's more people. Period.
Right.
And we need to be understanding and prepared to handle those situations. A lot of mental breakdowns are in psychosis, and cops don't know how to respond. It's automatic, physical, violent response.
Yeah, I mean that's what they resort to. I mean that's how they.
Prime example is our episode on police.
Right.
Right. If you hear the audio, I don't know if
tune in next Saturday because
CRY. It's going to be replayed.
It's going to be replayed next Saturday.
It's going to be replayed.
You're going to hear how Jerry responded.
I can tell you, yeah, I responded like a scared little bitch. But that's the whole thing. If I hadn't kept my wits about me, if I had been maybe not as mentally stable as I am, if I hadn't been as calm and cool to customer as I am, when the police officer grabbed me by my shoulder, and again, we talked with Doug and we understand that he was trying to control the situation to make sure that he could get home safely, and at the end he helped me up off the ground, he shook my hand, he apologized, he thanked me for my time and understanding and cooperation. But when he grabbed me, if I had become combative, as a lot of people would in that situation, I could see how very quickly that could turn to a violent and nasty ending. And I was lucky enough to be surrounded by a bunch of what seemed to be very experienced police officers, and they were all very cool in a very tense situation.
Oh, they were cool because they had AR-15s. You didn't have shit out of you except for a cell phone. I'd be cool too.
I had the people, bro. I had the people.
Yeah, you were armed with a cell phone, and they came out guns a-blazing with AR-15s, bro. Ski masks. Did they have ski masks on, Jay, or no?
They didn't have ski masks.
No, okay.
They did have bulletproof vests.
Yeah.
And they did come up without lights, and they did surround me very quickly.
Oh, boy.
And at first, you'll hear me say, "Oh, I think I'm gonna get a piece of shit," and then next thing I know, I'm on the ground.
You are
with
the
my
shit.
arm up like this. I was the shit.
You were the shit.
I was the poo.
Oh my gosh!
But again, I saw it then, and it's why I wanted to talk about it on that very next episode was how quickly things could have gone wrong or gone awry had I not kept my cool and my wits, which not a lot of people could do. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I've just always been very level-headed.
Right.
But also, if those police officers hadn't been as cool and calm and collected as they were, it could have ended very badly. So I got lucky on multiple fronts, and I could see very quickly how that could have turned poorly in a million other different situations with a million other variables. It's almost impossible to mathematically equate out exactly how that could have played with all the different things that could have happened. I got very, very lucky, and I'm very happy I did, but I want to take that opportunity to point out how we need to, with the police, with the government itself, we need to find a way to come to a happy medium, a happy middle ground. But the problem is it can't just be one side. It can't just be the civilians. It can't just be the normal populace coming out to the police and the FBI and the judges and the judicial and the executive branches putting out our hands saying, we wave an olive branch, what can we do? And them coming back and saying, well, you need to give us more money. Taxes, guns.
Yeah.
And it's got to be a two-way street. And that's where we're currently at. It's not a two-way street. It's very one-sided. It's
not. And the relationship, like you said, between civilian and law enforcement officer has, probably been at a no lower point now than it ever has been. And it's funny. I love seeing those videos on Facebook where you see like a station of cops like go play basketball with a group of kids that are hanging out at the park. You know what I mean? Or I saw one the other day where it was a group of cops who actually. They were part of SWAT, and they came in their fucking big SWAT truck, and they actually had a snowball fight with a bunch of kids that were snowballing.
Oh, I saw that one. That was a good one.
Yeah. So things like that. you only see them in, spurts and things like that. It's just the problem is that I wish you saw more of it.
There was somebody that had, real quick, before we do our goodbyes and all that had said, was DMBG had said he wouldn't play devil's advocate if I had been a different race. That would have ended very differently. I don't know that for sure. I know that my interactions with police before might have been somewhat fueled by my race because obviously I'm a white guy. But the person that we're looking for was
white.
I matched the description minus the gold tee.
You got rid of that grill. You got rid of that grill real quick, right before they tackled you.
That was what saved me. But a lot of times things can spiral out of control very, very quickly. I also know of people of race who have had interactions kind of like that who reacted very similarly. So I'm with you. I'm not saying there's not some racial divide. In fact, it's been proven that that our government is racist by its standards. It's on the very ground floor. It's very racist. So I'm not saying it's not. I am saying that I believe we need to take things piece by piece, day by day, and individual interactions. And I think that if more people kept their cool, it might turn out somewhat differently. That's my opinion. I can't prove it or disprove it one way or the other because I think there's been so many. There's almost been too much data. You know what I mean?
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
I agree. I agree. There's some racist issues to it. But yeah, that's my.
Yeah. Well, again, for those that are just joining, sorry again. We got cut off at the hour mark there, and it automatically cuts you off at an hour, so it cut everybody off. So again, I apologize, but we're bringing the podcast to a final halt here for the evening. I wanted to thank everybody that came on and interacted with us and spoke with us. And please, next week we'll be announcing our 50th episode, either Friday or Saturday. More likely, probably might be on Saturday, but we'll figure it out. We'll let you know. And, we hope you guys enjoy it. And, again, hope you guys enjoyed tonight and, check us out. You can find us on all the platforms. One thing to announce, Jay, and we talked about it, earlier this week. We are now on Stitcher. Stitcher, if, for those that don't know out there, is the largest, purveyor of podcasts, out there. And basically what they do is they compile every show. I mean, every big show that that's out there is on Stitcher. So we are very happy and proud to be part of the family at Stitcher. And we're hoping to get on Spotify very soon. So after that, Jay, that's it. We've been on pretty much every big platform. So
sky's the limit. I think a big part of it is obviously you and I have known each other since the 4th grade. We go way back. It's a very easy, just like I said from our very first episode together, we have a very natural flow. Jen and Ashley, we love you guys too. Thank you so much for following us. Thank you to everybody that supported us thus far, and keep talking about it because the more we all talk about it, the more we get together, the more we can really unify ourselves, the better a chance we have of actually making a change. And that's a big thing for Dark Fringe Radio is not only for us to become more woke, but for us to become more unified.
That's right, and to be able to talk about everything and anything. So and have different views on it. And that's the main goal here for us is to be able to do that. And we hope you enjoyed. And again, catch us on Monday. We'll be releasing another episode. It's going to be regarding haunted Hollywood, and we really put a lot of effort and research into that, Jay and I. So we hope that you guys enjoy that. And then at the end of the week, we'll be having our 50th episode. If you want to send us any suggestions, any show mail, you can send it to us at thedarkfringe@gmail.com. Again, that's thedarkfringe@gmail.com. Again, you can catch us on all the normal places where you can find podcasts, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Player FM. We're all over the place. YouTube, please go on YouTube. But one thing we do ask, if you do listen to us on any of those platforms, give us a 5-star rating and a liking and a comment. That helps us out tremendously. We don't ask anything from you guys to do this podcast, just for you guys to go on there and give us that, 5-star rating and comment So whatever you guys can do to do that, we'd appreciate it. And that's it. That's it for the week, Jay. Will Martinez, Jay Galosi, thank you for joining me this week. And we'll see you again on Monday with a brand new episode of Dark Fringe Radio. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight. See you again.